Hello, this is Nathan Newberry. I'm the author of the upcoming book, Going Pro, and I also have a podcast, The Nathan Newberry Show. And on this episode for the Business Growth Architect Show, I'm going to give some insights around like freedom. We're going to go over like how to build a personal brand and the importance of everybody needing to do that now, and really looking at all the systems and operations and also how to build an irresistible offer that's going to really help you. So make sure to head over there and listen to the full episode.
And hello, fabulous person. Beate Gillette here. I am the host of the Business Growth Architect Show, and I want to welcome you to today's episode where we discuss how to navigate strategy and spirituality to achieve time and financial freedom. Truly successful people have learned how to master both, a clear intention and a strategy to execute that in a spiritual practice that will help them to stay in alignment and on purpose. Please enjoy the show and listen to what our guest today has to say about this very topic. Welcome back. Beate Gillette here, the host of the Business Growth Architect Show. And today I have Nathan Newberry on the call with me. Nathan, I'm so excited for you to be here. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to share some insights and be with you here.
And today we're going to talk about something that everybody wants. Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So my first question is it really possible to have freedom through entrepreneurship? Because most people I see, that is not the case. They gave up 40 hours a week so they can work 60. Is freedom possible in entrepreneurship?
Absolutely. But I think the struggle that you're identifying is what most people challenge with. It's like they're working 9 to 5 and they're like, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur because they get the, grassy, green grass on the other side of that perspective, but it's not, they trade to 60 to 80 hours a work week and they're more stressed than ever. It's because they traded one skill for 4 that they have to learn. And I'll give you a perspective of what I mean by it is in a job, you have practically one skill, and typically it's like marketing, sales, fulfillment, or it's like leadership and systems. And then they traded one skill that they had an expertise in their career and then realized they had to learn all 4. And so that was overwhelming to them. But here's the thing is entrepreneurship can give a freedom in life. And I kind of bucket it in these 3 different ways. Ultimately, we want more money, right? That's always helpful. We also want more time flexibility and freedom, which sometimes it gives, but most of the time it really kind of straddles us more than ever. And then the third one is impact. And that's something that God's given us all a different perspective about, which is serving others. And so if we align all 3 of those together, then that's kind of how I define what we can achieve with freedom. If we have all 3 of those things aligned, then that kind of defines kind of freedom for us: money, time, and then even more of the impact of why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, which is a very aligned with what we talk about, is that we want to make sure that when you embark on this venture, that you actually do so with purpose. Mm-hmm. And with an intention to get very clear on what it is that you're trying to do. Because most people, and I've talked about this on the show many, 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 many times, is that they go to internet marketers because they don't know on what they're missing. And then they are coming across something that sounds reasonable, right? So it sounds reasonable to speak from stage. It sounds reasonable to learn how to do lead generation. It sounds reasonable to do a marketing and Facebook ads strategy. But they end up for these things, they're finding out that these things don't work. What is it that they're doing wrong that you tell them to not do, or what should they be doing instead?
I think they're trying to go to an offer with a bad product is really what it comes down to me. They want to help people, but it's not with the key thing that they need, right? Like how many times do people type into Google, like, help me find a mindset coach, like nobody does, right? With a client of mine, I'll give you an example. She helps people with burnout, but people don't know that they're burned out. So like, how can you help someone? It's only until they're after they're burned out that they want to leave their career or their job or everything because they're burned out. But this is really where you have to like create an offer that's beforehand with something else that's really dialed in. And in the industry, coaching and everything is trying to find health, wealth, and relationships. If you can help people with those 3 key industry billion-dollar things, and then also help them with mindset, also help them with depression, also help them with fitness or whatever. It then it kind of encapsulates the offer that they're looking for overall. I've seen people spend tens of thousands of dollars on lead generation, but their offer is crap. So it's like it's hard to go to a market with that. I think that is a big challenge for most in the online gurus these days. They don't address that before going forward. And that's really where when I coach clients, it's like we have to get all of that dialed in before you even know what content to create, before you could create systems, your website copy, run ads, everything has to be dialed in with your offer. And if we're not clear on that, we don't move forward until we are.
Yeah, and we talked about some examples. I want to give some examples so people really understand, our audience knows what we're talking about. So one of the things is I spend a fair amount of time now on Substack. That's my new addiction. And what I find is a lot of people that have figured something out and now they want to teach other people what you said, become a coach and help other people to overcome what they've overcome. So one person says they're a boundary coach, and I look at it and go like, there's not a chance in hell that somebody who needs to set boundaries will know that they need to set boundaries. They think that other people are taking advantage of. What are some of the things that you see that are very, very common?
I think, yeah, people get stuck in the weeds, right? They've heard something or found something or defined something they think is clever, but it's not what the market needs, right? And so they could create an amazing website. They could create a bunch of copy, create a bunch of content, but then it drives to nowhere. So I'll give you an example. Like I was a pastor for years, and then I got into marketing. And then I did that for 9 years and then sold my company. And then I got into high ticket sales in the information space. And I did really well at that. I managed sales teams where we're doing millions a month. And that's just because I cared for people. I mean, what a thought. I did well at that because I cared for people. And then I came back to the market here and just try to build my personal brand, helping people get clarity on like, hey, here's how we get consistency on leads. And then here's also how we really kind of build a sales team and media team and everything like this. But my point is with all this is I've built hundreds of websites. Okay. And if I built a website or I was working with them to build a website, if there's no marketing engine behind that website, nobody's visiting the website. The goal was never the website. The goal was leads and revenue from it. And so whatever person's offer it is, if they don't have a marketing engine behind it, nobody knows about them. They have no eyeballs on their content. They have no eyeballs on their offer. And so the driving factor is you have to stand out with your clear call to action of an offer that's really tangible with the outcome that they want to receive. The whole thing is someone needs to actually have a transformation with you, right? Oh, I'll give you one too. It's like you can get 6-pack abs in 90 days, right? That's in theory, but if I'm 500 pounds, there's no way I'm going to be able to get 6-pack abs in 90 days. So I think there needs to be a clarity point of like what someone can do and create with the outcome in mind. Can someone really say, hey, if I worked with you and you're 500 pounds, we got to be on the same page. I can help you get there, but it's going to be a lot longer than 90 days. And the other part about it is people are not taking action. They want it in theory, but it's the same thing with everything. It's like people know what to do to get healthy. They just choose not to. We know we should read books. We know we should exercise and do walking and eating healthy. We just choose not to. And so I think people know more than they need to, but sometimes what they get from a coach is accountability. And that's what they really need to be true to what they want. And people pay a lot of money for that because they need that accountability from someone, not AI, not a bot. They need that human connection and community. And so I think that's what coaches are offering now is more of a community of like-minded people as well as the accountability part.
That's what I'm hearing you say is first you figure out what it is and then we can build it. But the community of saying, I want to be connected. But to your point, I want to dive into this a little bit further now. The clarity of the message. Well, I mean, I'm just starting. I'm putting my shingle out. I'm just testing things. I don't even know if it's working. How do I even figure out how to articulate this message? What makes me so special? Now I'm having self-esteem issues. I've never done this before. I have no idea if it works, if it doesn't work. How do I get my head around what is it that I am?
Yeah.
Who am I? Yeah.
Yeah, I had this diagram. It's like a Venn diagram, and there's three wheels that align and overlap. Ultimately, what we want is purpose, right? And it comes from the helping of others. That's the impact part of that freedom part we want. And so we draw significance and fulfillment with the service of others, right? And so the in these three Venn diagram, you have your experience and you have your skills. And then there's other things that you're passionate about. And when you have all those things aligned, then you have your kind of more direct purpose in that fulfillment. So what I ask all the time with clients that come in with an offer, and then we have to change the whole thing, is we have to really kind of align, like, what do you, when you go to a party or you have someone you talk to, what do you talk about that you could just, you walk away from that experience that was life-giving, that was fun, and you were just talking about a certain topic all the time. And sometimes we go down a rabbit hole with a client and they're like, oh, I have this experience to help my kid with autism and this, that, and the other. And they're like, can you talk about that? Do you like that? No, like, it's just hard. I don't necessarily like talking about, okay, let's shift gears. What is it that you like talking about? Well, I talk about leadership or communication or other things. Like, okay, now we got something. And you kind of just keep on going down that rabbit hole. What about that do you like? And then we talk about what's the transformation that you could help walk someone through with your experience and with your skill. And before you know it, we kind of surface a really good direction with what they can go and sell to go to market. And then we look at what this would be like, your point A, point B, like what are they struggling with? What would be the outcomes that they would achieve by working with you? All of that. It's just going through a conversation flow with someone to really kind of get those light bulb moments of like, this is what I could talk about all the time. Because the goal with coaching, and most of my clients, this is not their main thing. They've had successful careers as a doctor or a dentist or other aspects. They're just coming now and saying, hey, I need to build a personal brand and I want to give back. And I really want to make this as a long-term thing to create amazing content, to help as many people as I can in a global audience, not just with a local market maybe that they were working in. This is really where we're crafting something they could do the rest of their life, and they feel that alignment of that purpose that they've missed so often with just the current clients that they were working with, or where they didn't have control in their career. Now they're be able to take a direction that's aligned with what they want to talk about and what they really can help people with.
I think that's a very powerful way to look at this from the perspective the mess becomes the message. As you know, the obstacle is the way. As you work through something, then you are stepping into that to help other people overcome the same thing. And you already have proof of concept because you overcame it yourself. And you maybe have hired someone, or you had to figure it out and do some research. And so that's, I think, a good way to get started, because people are not the only ones with that particular problem. I don't think it's easy to do this on your own. I have yet to find any, maybe once ever so often somebody walks into my world and they somehow stumbled up on what their differentiation factor is. Most people cannot see it. It's impossible. We don't see our brilliance because that's just us. Other people see our brilliance. So when somebody now walks into your office or wants to work with you or your team, take me through this process of, so you take them through this conversation, your process of helping to figure out what the impact is that they want to make, what they're passionate about, what they can talk about, what the transformation is that they can offer. So now we have that. How do we build that business? How do I now create the freedom?
Yeah. Well, the ultimate goal is creating the system now from that purpose defining. And so we got to really kind of look at optimizing every single channel out there. The goal is omnipresence. Okay, there's a report that Google came out with called the 7-11-4. So it meant that someone spent 7 hours of time with someone at 11 different impressions all over different platforms in 4 different locations and channels. So Google came out with that. So when someone's about to work with someone, or it takes them 7 hours on all these different platforms and time to really build that trust with understanding this person's there. So this is why it's really important to have an omnipresence, because some people will be more likely on LinkedIn than they would with Instagram or with Facebook or X. And some people, wherever that is, you need to be able to have a cross multiplication of your reach. And so the easy part is just like creating all those platforms, optimizing it with your message, right? Of like your I help statement of like, I help person get this transformation, right? And when they make that clear online, from banners to profiles with a direct link to for them to message you on a call to action, and then all your content is going to be directed toward the pain and the goals that those people have. And then ultimately you have call to actions in stories or on posts to say, hey, like if you want this transformation, message me and we can have a conversation. Like for me, I'm primarily on Instagram and on YouTube. Those are the 2 platforms. I cross post everywhere, but those are my 2 lanes. Because Instagram has the best communication platform and YouTube has the best algorithm with reach for long form. And if I can get someone to spend those 7 hours, maybe on average, through long form content rather than just the 1-minute reel or short, then it will like increase the speed that someone will trust and connect with me further. So this is where long form is really important. So I do that through podcasts because I have my own podcast just like you do. That's always helpful and it builds authority, because when you interview amazing people, there's the transfer of trust that happens. The other part is just like taking those snippets of things and creating reels and creating value. And so now that you know the direction you're going, because most of the time people didn't know what direction or offer they had, they were just kind of winging it and like putting things out. You just have like look at the camera and make content, and then build a media team around you. So you don't have to upload it and do all the edits. You just kind of manage some things like that. We could talk about how to get that freedom by building media and sales team, because ultimately the goal is to be able to be coaching and to be able to create value with your content. And if you can be in those hot seats, you're going to enjoy your business so much more than just, doing everything and all the admin stuff. That's where it gets tiresome and people wear out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think most people get really worn out because they don't have enough leads and because they can't convert the leads, and then they don't have the cash flow so that they cannot hire the people to support them. And then they burn out inevitably because then you're trying to get too much done. So in the beginning, when we are building this, so let's say I have my differentiation factor, I got my language down, I got my clear transformation statement figured out, I'm picking a platform that I feel comfortable in. I'm increasing my time spent on Substack because I find it to be a very, very powerful vehicle right now of everybody who's sick and tired of the big media companies to have real conversation. We'll see how long that takes until the internet marketers are taking over that. But for now, it works. I love YouTube like you do because there is intimacy in the conversation between you. There is an enormous amount of trust building done in a short amount of time. So make sure you get good playlists together. So when you hook someone, that they'll stay with you for as long a period of time. So how do I get over the hump is my question, my next question for you. How do I get momentum to get this going without being frustrated?
You can get leads by just doing that organic content, right? By just putting out valuable content, you can grow and get leads and close deals. Alex Hormozi in his book called $100 Million Leads comes up with a category of like, there's 4 ways to get leads. And I like his way that he did. You could do, content, free valuable content. The other one is paid ads. The other one is warm outreach and cold outreach. Okay. Those are key ways that someone can get leads. Like you can DM people cold, or you can DM people that are, in your network or all your followers and say, hey, I'm doing this now. would love to get your feedback, or if you know someone, like there's ways to do that. Warm outreach could be being on someone's podcast, could be on stages where people now are on you. They see you on stage talking about something, and you say, hey, DM me if you'd like this, checklist, you want this playbook or whatever. It then invites them to raise their hand saying, yeah, I'd love to have that freebie and have that conversation with you saying, hey, where are you at? How can I help? And so I think there's really easy ways, but people build that connection with you with free content. And then ads, this is where people get in trouble with it. If they don't have those clear message, they don't have the content, they can run ads, but then it goes nowhere because people just burn through money, hoping that it turns into a lead, and then it turns into low value clients or low value prospects that either don't have money or they don't have the value that you want to work with them on. So this is really where ads are an amplification of what you are doing already from that. And there's different types of ads that you can do, and there's different strategies from webinars and all sorts of stuff that you can do. But the key thing that you can easily do is just create a lot of valuable content, and then you just drive more amplified traffic to those sources, and then you just make sure that you're messaging everybody on those platforms that follow you.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from you really is a very simple way to look at this. Get clear what makes you different. Make sure your message talks about what's in it for them, the transformation message.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out where they are, and then make sure that you spend enough time with them on these platforms. Do you think that the time spent on the platforms is where it goes wrong in the expectation? I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for 40 years. So back when I started, we said it was the rule of 7 touch points. And 7 touch points meant, they had to get a postcard or they had to get a phone call or something. 7 hours, that is a long time for somebody to spend with you. Do you think people miss that? Is that one of the big issues, that they miss that, the amount of time it takes? No?
In terms of like if someone converted or not?
Yeah.
I think it depends. I mean, it doesn't have to be 7 hours. Like if, a friend said, hey, you got to go talk with them, they're the best, there's already a trust that's already built. And so it's easier to convert those leads that are already there. They just found you and likes and resonate the content. I think that is like an average that Google found that may or may not be true with whatever offer that someone has. But I think it's a good clarity point. I mean, the saying that's floating around is there's a trust recession. If there is or isn't, I don't know. People are always needing help and buying coaches and information. Even the Bible way back talked about wisdom, and all you're getting, get wisdom. Buy it. It's like back in the Proverbs, thousands of years ago, people still bought knowledge. And before schools were around, if you were wealthy enough to send your kids to have a tutor, then you would have that information to bestow to your kids. And so I don't think it's a new thing. I think it's just a new way that people are packaging and presenting it, because now I can reach a global audience when we weren't able to do that before. Right. So it's just a different way that we're packaging information. It's not a bad thing at all. It's a good thing that people are going out there and sharing their expertise now than ever. But people connect with people for certain reasons more than others, right? Here's something that I realized. One of my mentors, it got a chance to spend time with Richard Branson one-on-one on one of his islands, in Necker Island, and they get a chance to ask Richard Branson, hey, what's the most important thing that someone needs to know and do when they're first starting out a business, or to really kind of prioritize? And he said branding was the big thing. Now, when you look at Richard Branson, for instance, he has over 400 different companies, right? But the interesting thing is many of them weren't ones that he necessarily started. It was companies that came to him saying, hey, I love the brand, and I'd love to build a spin-off of it. Really, he's franchised the name because he did so well with the branding. And so what I want to really help the listeners here understand is building your personal brand whatever you do, if you're switching careers or offers, whatever, your personal brand is something you'll carry for the rest of your life. And you need to prioritize building it by adding value to the market. And so doing that even before you have your clear offering or even presenting something is really good in the market, just to continue to grow that reach. And so that when you get to market, you're going to be able to really be able to stand out and people will see you and know you with whatever that is. And so it's really important to build one and then just be consistent with it. And that's where most people lack the discipline in. It's like, if I go exercise because I need at one time a week compared to, 15 to 30 minutes each day, what outcome is it? The biggest challenge that all of us do is we overcomplicate the simple.
Oh
And
man, 100%. Yeah. And I also think that from the personal brand, what I've learned, you also go through reiterations of your brand as you are progressing and as you are evolving with your own personal belief system, so does your brand. And you'll adjust that. And the example that I use when I was in my 30s, the brand and how I show up as the face of the brand is very different than now 30 years later, because the longevity of the brand, and I want to be really honest here. When was the last time you saw the photo of a 6-year-old woman as a brand leading image? That's very difficult in the space that I'm in. So the message has to become more important, which is why we choose the growth architect, because that is a timeless brand. And then as I evolved more into understanding that powerful and purpose-driven businesses come from you really truly being connected to your why, which is exactly what you said, that spirituality has to be connected to strategy. Otherwise, what's the point? I mean, I'm not interested in anything else. So in your opinion, how important is it that you believe what you say?
Oh, absolutely. Like being in the marketing and sales space, there's a big overlap, right? But the best salespeople that I've ever met had two major traits. Okay, they were confident in knowing who they were, why they were here. They're connected with their maker because they know who they are. And so the swag, the way they present, they're not meek, they're not shy, they're just confident. Not mean that they're arrogant or jerks. The other one is conviction. Conviction, knowing what they're offering is going to help someone. I don't need to know anything about sales, but if I am just passionate about knowing that whatever solution or product is going to help that person and they can see it and they bleed it in essence from that person, that's going to resonate with people and they're going to feel that passion. They're going to see that sincerity, and that's going to come across with selling people. I didn't know anything about sales. I just know that I was passionate about whatever I was selling. And I did really well at that. Just the difference between me going to 40, 60% close was me understanding how to communicate in a way that is helping them. And so I think conviction is a key part about authenticity with someone's message and their offering. And if you don't feel that, like the alignment, then don't do it.
I always say our job is to get people to the intersection of a yes or a no. Not to stay in the intersection, but to decide on a yes or a no. And either way, it's a decision and we've done our job. Of course, we prefer them to say yes, but there's no judgment. And you have to be that convinced that you feel good about on whether or not that person you just talked to knows this is right for them or knows this is not right for them, either ever or not now. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And helping them process that is a big thing. Is really, it has to be alignment with that. But leveraging AI to create content is a big one. And then AI to build teams, to hire right, and then look at the infrastructure of what you need and how you can help someone with building those systems around it can align, giving you that everybody's that freedom so that they can build a personal brand where they only have to coach if they want, and then build an amazing content that allows them to have that flexibility and freedom that someone wants.
Yeah, and let's just spend another minute on that because that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You help people not just to flush this out, but then also have AI-powered systems. Do you want to just outline that for us so that our audience know when it's a good time for them to contact you?
Yeah. So, I mean, AI is a big thing. Everybody needs to be on it. If you haven't made that your default browser, you need to do it. You need to, make sure AI is a big component because we're not going to escape it. I know people have put some feet in the ground saying, I'm not going to do it, or they saying they're completely doing it and they're extreme in it. I think there's a balance with it because AI right at the moment could probably get you 90% of the way with helping you create content, but they need to be authentic to you and your story. So you could train AI with your voice and your style that gets you 90% of the way. And so that's what I help my clients with, is helping them do that so they can build a media team to have that and build playbooks and KPIs and checklists to make it where they're streamlining everything from setup to crushing it, right? Many times people they try to think they need to build a course before they have clients. And I always say, hey, get 5 to 10 clients first that you're doing one-on-one work with. And then you'll actually know from there what to actually design to help them get that transformation quicker. And so if someone's looking to build a personal brand, they need to get clear on the offering. And then from there, then we can build out the systems, the funnels, the strategies behind everything. But it's first to that message, creating consistent content, and then really kind of aligning other funnels and ways to amplify that using leverage of AI and then systems and then ultimately teams to help run those systems. That's going to be the best. Yeah.
I actually think that what we talked about today is so timely, especially with what we're seeing in the market right now, with people being very concerned about autonomy over their own destiny, and more people either being laid off or by choice will look into how to create this destiny for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And to talk about the reality of the first step to say, make sure you got that nailed and what that thing is. And then, we'll tell them where to go to talk to you once they, get a little bit more clarity what that might be to help you build these follow-up systems utilizing AI, which I agree with you is absolutely critical. Nathan, where would we send people to connect with you?
Yeah, if someone wants to have a whole checklist breakdown of like what it takes to build a personal brand, they can message me on Instagram. I'd be fine helping just give them that full checklist and playbook. So if they find me on Instagram and just message me like workshop, I can send that to them and really kind of give them the breakdown of everything there. But everywhere that someone's looking online, they can find me. But Instagram is probably the best one. Nathan Newberry Official. Type me in there and you'll find me.
Excellent. Yes. And I like the clarity of the one call to action. Keep it really simple so they can find you. Nathan, it's been amazing to have you on the show. Thank you so much for having spent the time with us and taken us through some of these really critical, essential steps to be successful.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Hopefully this helped a lot.
Thank you. No, it did for sure. And that's it for us today. Thank you so much for listening to or watching this episode of the Business Growth Architect Show. If you or anybody you know wants to build a business or has struggled with getting this business, the clarity it requires to land with the right clients, please send them a link to this episode. We'd appreciate it. And with that, I say goodbye. So appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for listening to the entire episode. Please subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star review, a comment, and share this episode with one more person so that you can help us help more people. Thank you again. Until next time. Goodbye.